Fear. However, experts have made great progress in treating cancer. If found early, breast cancer can often be cured. Self-exams and annual mammograms are the key, so schedule yours today. That's from America's Best Hydroponics and Garden Center at 641 West Palmdale and Palmdale Hydroponics at 3020 East Palmdale in the Pep Boys Shopping Center. They're the Antelope Valley's only hydroponic stores with over 3,000 products in stock, including lighting, nutrients, and growth systems. Call 661-266-3906 or visit one of their locations.
The Redlands Passenger Rail Project is going to happen. Get the information expressed on this story and more in the Redlands City News. Catch local stories posted online daily. The Redlands City News, online at redlandscitynews.com or in print at locations near you.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. I don't think we've mentioned it today. I know we haven't. You can follow Tobin on Facebook, or friend Tobin on Facebook at Tobin Brinker. He's just Tobin Brinker on Facebook. And I am Erin Hunt Brinker. There's another Erin Brinker. She lives in another state. She's very sweet, but she's not me. So it's Erin Hunt Brinker. And you can follow me on Twitter at Erin Songbird on Twitter. And we also have a KCAA morning show a Facebook page as well. So last night was Trump addressed Congress. And Tobin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, first off, his speech was fabulous. Anyone who saw it, I think you'd be shocked because it seemed like such a departure from classic Trump that we've grown to know over the last, several years. The bombast was dialed way down, and he had a very sort of positive, inspirational tone about the speech, and he really spoke to a lot of different groups in America. And most of his speeches, one of my complaints is that he's really just been sort of talking to this one group, the people that voted for him, and everybody else is, has sort of been left out. And this was the most inclusive speech I've seen from him. And there were some moments in that speech that were really, really nice. And what's interesting is watching both the left and the right respond to it. Van Jones, who is a far lefty, who was in the Obama administration, said that, Donald Trump became president last night, that there was a moment in the speech when he became the president. And it was specifically when he was speaking to the widow of one of the soldiers who died in the attack that Trump ordered.
In Yemen. There's Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah, Navy SEAL. And so, there were just some really nice moments in the speech. It's interesting, watching the responses afterwards, though, or not afterwards, watching them live. Republicans applauded way too much.
Yeah, I have to say that to me, I stopped listening because they applauded after every line of the speech,
Yes.
and I couldn't stand it. So I wanted to wait till today to read the transcript. I mean, I listened to bits and pieces, but I found that so distracting that I couldn't pay attention to it. And so I wanted to listen to the transcript. You listened to the whole thing.
Yeah, they play this game of, who because they count all the applause lines, right? So they play this game. They want to be able to say, oh, we got more applause lines than anyone else ever. And so literally he says 3 words and they all stand and applaud. And it really does break up the continuity of the speech. And so
it does.
That was a challenge. But what was interesting to me was there were several spots where he got a lot of Democrats' applause as well. $1 trillion infrastructure plan, what do you call it? Family leave care, paid family leave. There were things where Democrats were super excited and standing up and applauding as well. But what was interesting was that the Republicans were applauding for those things as well, and those are big spending tickets, and you don't typically see Republicans applauding and cheering for big spending tickets,
I have to say it's I want people, let me back up. If those things had come out of Obama's mouth, they would have been going nuts.
Yes.
You know, that's a boondoggle, you're spending all this money, blah, 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 blah. But because it came out of Trump's mouth, all of a sudden they're supportive of it. And the opposite is true of the Democrats. You know, that we are so hooked on party that
Yes.
we're not paying attention to what each party is saying and doing.
Yeah. But certainly the highlight of the speech was the 2 minutes and 11 second standing ovation for Karen Owens, who was the wife of
Ryan Owens.
Navy Chief William Ryan Owens, who was killed in the military raid in Yemen. And the look on her face, I don't know how to describe it. She had her hands clasped in front of her as if she was praying, tears rolling down her face, and there was a sense of pride and joy and pain all wrapped into one. And it was a very sort of personal moment, but it was shared collectively. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yes.
And the applause, you could sense again that that she was feeling the love from all of these people in the room, and must be knowing that there's millions of people around the country that in that moment that her and her husband were in our prayers and thanking them. And I hope that, you know, one of the messages that Trump has consistently given is that his support for the military and that we have to remember these people and honor them for the service that they give. And I loved that moment. I love that moment. And I Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. If you're an American, you love that moment. You know, and of course, those are always the toughest calls as president, right? Sending people into harm's way. And, you know, Trump's first foray there, you know, ended with this man's death. And, you know, one of the challenges, of course, he had the wife of Ryan Owens there, but Ryan Owens' father has publicly said that he won't meet with Trump, you know. And so the family, within the family there is, you know, people feel different. They don't want their child's life to be politicized.
Right.
You know?
Right.
To be used as a political prop. But I didn't feel like he was used as a prop during the speech. That was what was so beautiful about it.
But you can understand the father's reticence.
Oh, I can. But in that moment, it certainly felt very genuine that there was a lot of love and admiration being given to this wife whose husband had recently passed. And Trump, you know, made the case that this guy gave his life for his country and it was worth it, that we received actionable intelligence that was important and meaningful, and that this man will never be forgotten. And that was I think the best moment of the speech.
So I still, you know, looking at the reports this morning, it seems that he really didn't adequately address health care reform. And when I think that this is far more complex, and he said as much, it's far more complex than he anticipated. And truth be told, the way he's talking is, I don't think that his plan is going to be that much different from the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, well, he gave some boilerplate ideas, you know, that we want to maintain coverage for as many, you know, access. That was the key word you keep hearing proposed, access for everybody. So we're not guaranteeing that you're going to have health care, but you're going to have access to health care. And so that's, you know, that's parsing the language. You know, we're going to continue to make sure you have access if you have a pre-existing condition. Again, access being the key word. You know, and then he talked about some of the boilerplate things like buying insurance over state lines, health savings accounts. These are things that Republicans have been talking about for years. But yeah, you're right. They're not getting into the nitty-gritty yet. And there's been a lot of pushback from some of the more conservative members in the Republican caucus of some of the ideas that are being floated. One particularly is a kind of a tax, and Republicans are like, no, we're not going to do that to fund this thing, you know. And so it's going to be very interesting to see if they can actually solve some of these issues and come up with a real solution. And it appears, you know, that the Democrats are basically sitting on the sidelines and are saying, well, you know, you're going to own this just like you made us own the other one, you know, and they're not going to help. So it'll be very interesting to see if they're able to get any kind of bipartisan involvement or engagement on these issues.
Well, the camera panned to Nancy Pelosi during that part of the speech, and she's shaking her head about, you know, you're going to get bipartisan support, and clearly she's not going to give it no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Affordable Care Act was passed with zero Republican support.
Yes.
No Republicans voted yes on the Affordable Care Act. And so we're looking probably probably looking at the same thing in reverse this time around.
Yeah.
The thing about the Affordable Care Act is that it was shoved through so quickly. Right, and so
Yeah.
they finished it in the middle of the night, and it was just, you remember, you had to pass the bill before you could know what was inside, and so I think Americans are sick of that as
Yes.
well. And so and one of the things that did Hillary Clinton in with Hillary Care is that because it was happening in back rooms, that these conversations were not seeing the light of day, and Americans, I think, don't want that to happen, where something is passed and we're like, wait, what the heck just happened?
Yeah. Now, I know that Trump has said that he wants the repeal and replace all passed at the same time, right? But I have a sneaking feeling, that it won't happen that way. Because knowing how Congress works on these things, I suspect they're going to pass some form of a repeal with an extended deadline for when some of this stuff is phased out. And it's those deadlines that actually become the driving force that force these guys to get in and fix it. Because they won't make the tough decisions unless they absolutely have to. And so, if they have constituents who are going to lose their health care on X day, that becomes the fear factor that forces them to come to the table and then make those tough votes. And so I don't see them doing the replace and repeal all on the same time. I think there's going to be some steps.
It's certainly interesting. So it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
The best team going in the NBA holding its breath this morning. Kevin Durant had to leave last night's game between the Warriors and Wizards less than 2 minutes in after teammate Zaza Pachulia fell backwards into his left leg.
They said hyperextended knee when he went out, and he's getting tested. I think he's taking an MRI or something, and so we'll know more tomorrow.
Golden State head coach Steve Kerr's club wound up losing the final 112-108. The Verticals' Adrian Wojnarowski reports Durant's inner circle fears he could miss months of action instead of weeks. Elsewhere, the Hornets stung the Lakers 109-104. Russell Westbrook with his 30th triple-double in 60 games. Thunder turned down the Jazz 109-106. Grizzlies eclipsed the Suns 130-112. The Nuggets beat the Bulls 125-107. Pistons topped the Blazers 120-113. NFL, Kirk Cousins gets the franchise tag from the Redskins. Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, and Darrelle Revis are all headed for free agency. That's sports. Mark Ernay, NBC News Radio.
Did you know that more than 100,000 people a day are downloading game apps? Mobile apps have become a normal part of everyday lives. Now there's a new exciting sports app that lets you play along with your favorite professional sports team in real time. With this fantastic app, you can predict the next play and even outguess your favorite team members. The more predictions you get correct, the more points you receive. Points can be exchanged for cool prizes, like your favorite jerseys, hats, airline tickets, sports tickets, even a new car. You can play this amazing sports app by yourself, with your friends, or even with a large group of fans from all over the world. This incredible sports app is called Fire Fan, and it's available right now. Check it out. Sign up today at www.freefirefanapp.com.
Hi, it's Jan Elliott in Snow Country. Well, another great day on the slopes. Sunshine, don't forget the sunscreen. And overnight temperatures have made for some great snowmaking weather for areas like Mountain High. So West Mountain got a fresh coat of snow. They're skiing 25 trails off of 6 lifts. Snow Summit and Bear Mountain both picked up some snow out of this latest storm. They're reporting pack powder conditions. Everything's open. June Mountain has 35 runs off of 2 lifts today. China Peak's in great shape. All 1,400 acres rivers open 120 to 180 inches on the ground. 54 trails for China Peak, Squaw Valley skiing over 120 runs. And if you're heading into the Rockies, Crested Butte another 3 inches in the last 24 hours, 2 feet in 7 days. And in Idaho, Sun Valley picked up another inch of new snow, 32 miles there. Get more details, click on to snowcountry.com. I'm Jan Elliott on the trifecta of talk, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM, the stations that leave no listener behind.
Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company has been serving the greater Inland Empire for over 60 years. For all of your printing needs, from full-color printing to high-speed copying and everything in between, go to Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company. Their staff is committed to your total satisfaction. Great service isn't just lip service at Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company. It's the way they do business year after year. Having trouble finding drafting supplies? Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company still carries a complete selection. Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company is rated high in customer satisfaction by Value Star, an independent rating company. For all of your personal or business printing, call Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company at 909-792-3478. That's 792-3478, or visit them on New York Street in Redlands off the I-10 and the Crosstown Freeway.
Are you thirsty for books that will fill your soul with wisdom, joy, and inspiration? Then take a refreshing and nourishing drink at Alice's Quiet Mind Bookstore, located in the heart of the Agape International Spiritual Center in Culver City, which incidentally was recently featured on The Today Show. From aromatic soy candles to best-selling authors like Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith and a whole host of other visionaries, Alice's Quiet Mind Bookstore has everything to soothe your body, spirit, and soul. For more info and directions, visit agapelive.com today.
Hi, this is Bev from Let's Go Shopping with Bev. If you love to shop like I do, looking for the best deals, everything from antiques to zoos, you're gonna hear about it on Let's Go Shopping with Bev. Each Wednesday, you'll enjoy a new and different show with our marvelous guests. They'll tell us about everything that's going on in the Inland Empire and beyond. Join us each Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. right here on KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. Ciao.
This is KCAA.
I'm gonna fight 'em all. I said the nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off, taking their time right behind my back. And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. Back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. All right, so I have to talk about what I think is the dumbest outrage episode ever. Okay, one of the dumbest.
What is it, Erin?
It's the Kellyanne Conway on the couch. Holy smokes, people are losing their mind about this. So there's a picture, if you haven't seen it, perhaps you were super busy yesterday. There's a picture of Kellyanne Conway kneeling on a couch in the Oval Office holding her phone and surrounded by President Trump was hosting the presidents of the historically black colleges and universities. Yes. And it looks like from this one photo that all of these important people are standing around the president and she's sitting on the couch very casually playing with her phone. That's not what happened, folks. She was asked by the president to take a picture with her phone of everybody in the room, and she couldn't get a good angle because there were a lot of people in the room. So she kneeled on the couch, leaned forward, snapped a picture, and then obviously before she took the picture, she had to find her camera app, and then after she took her picture, she was doing something, and people are losing their minds over it.
Yes. Yeah, and you know what's funny is that now, of course, the people on the right, because this is always a left-right thing, conservatives versus liberals, are now posting all the pictures of President Obama with his feet up on the tables and on the chairs, and And what it is that I told you this morning. I think people are upset because she seems comfortable in the Oval Office. That people don't want Trump and his supporters to be comfortable there. Especially the liberals. They want them out. They don't want them to get comfortable. And it's a tempest in a teapot. It's a nothing story, but people are literally going berserk about it. And it's all of these various media outlets. How dare she? How dare she?
Well, and people have called her a racist. They said that she was disrespectful, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And, her point is, but this is what her words are. What happened is that we had the largest gathering of men and women to date in the Oval Office for a picture. I was being asked to take a picture in a crowded room with the press behind us, and I was asked to take a certain angle and was doing exactly that. And she told this to Lou Dobbs. I certainly meant no disrespect. I didn't mean to have my feet on the couch. Then she flipped the criticism on its head. If we started a trend here where people are outwardly talking about greater respect for the office of the president and its current occupant, then perhaps there's something positive to come out of it.
Yeah.
And I've actually, somebody on Facebook, a friend of mine on Facebook said, it's time to fire her or time to throw her out. And it's like, really? Come on. If you look at the faces of the people in the room, nobody has seemed to notice or care. Nobody is looking at her. The people in the room are 100% not bothered by this.
I see a lot of smiles on a lot of faces, people just happy to be invited into the Oval Office to meet with the President of the United States, happy for their moment of attention, right? You don't get a lot of these opportunities, and to bring attention to their universities, to bring attention to the issues that they're dealing with, and to perhaps get some support from the executive. That's what's important, not who's sitting on the couch and whether they're being appropriate or not.
I actually had one person say, well, there was a photographer in the room. Yeah, the press was in the room. But how many times have you, okay, I'll give you an example. We took our daughter and two of her friends to the zoo over Christmas. It was super fun. And they wanted a picture taken. There's a lion. They're Alpha Delta Pi sorority members, and 80 Pi symbol is a lion. There's a lion at the front of the zoo, of the San Diego Zoo. And so there's a professional photographer taking pictures of the girls, but every single one of those girls wanted us also to take a picture on their phone. So that picture would belong to them. They could share it immediately, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And this is really no different.
Exactly.
And again, you cannot, everything is not an 11.
Well,
for those people who have seen Spinal Tap, everything is not an 11.
And this is another example of the media sort of making themselves the story, right, with their over-the-top sort of outrage. And it speaks to their own biases against Trump and his administration that they're behaving this way. And there's actually another part from the speech last night that I didn't talk about. I just want to say it real briefly, which is that CNN did a fact check, right? And CNN has been one of those news agencies that Trump has been sort of fighting with from day one, right? Calling them fake news and not calling on them and shouting them down at press conferences and whatever. What's interesting is they went issue by issue through the speech last night, and 99% of them, they essentially say that what Trump said was true, right? So it's fact check, true. But it's true, but it's misleading is what they're saying. True but misleading. Well, the misleading part is that it doesn't confirm their bias. It confirms his bias. And it's interesting, they're not disputing that the factual stuff he said was in fact factual. They just don't like the context that he put it in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And this is why the media is getting into trouble. And again, I'm not going to go through their whole big list, but I was shocked as I went through this. I expected to find false, because that's what they've normally said, is that he's just making all this stuff up. But no, every single one of them has a true rating, but it's true but misleading, And so the media's got to, I think, step back a little bit and try to get some perspective and just do their job,
I think that that the traditional media's approval rating is lower than the president's, and I'm looking up. It's below. Hang on a second. It's pulling up. I'm pulling this up right now.
Yeah.
I think Americans don't trust the media because of stuff like this.
Yes.
Because when they say true but misleading, that is editorial, right? It's
Yes.
editorial to say, well, it's misleading. It's what his statement is true for these reasons, and these are other facts are fine, but it's not, putting a value judgment on it is
Yes.
not fine. And the American public is sick of that. Stop it.
Now, when I went to go look back at the story here, and they have one of these little pop-up things that says breaking news, and I just want to share it real quick. The Dow soars 200 points and tops 2,100 for the first time ever following Trump's speech last night.
Wow.
Yeah. So, the morning, the Dow is off to a good start this morning. And again, it speaks to the quality of the speech. Trump sent a very different message last night. I suspect a lot of people were reassured. He seemed very presidential last night. A lot of the crazy stuff that's been making a lot of us uneasy wasn't there last night. And so we had a good night.
We had a good night.
We had a good night.
So Greg Levine of Al Jazeera America reports that trust in television and news media has reached an all-time low, bringing it on par with trust in news on the Internet. Yes, the Internet.
Yes.
And so, if this is what happens when you editorialize straight news stories, people no longer trust you, and so that makes them confident to go to InfoWars because they think, well, it's all editorial anyway.
Yeah. So let me give an example of this true but misleading things. One of the things they looked at was Trump talking about the jobs that would be created by the pipelines, the Keystone XL pipeline and the Dakota Access Pipeline. And Trump said in his speech that 28,000 great construction jobs, that they would create 28,000 great construction jobs. And then they say, well, it's true but misleading because the actual construction jobs would only be like 3,000 or whatever. But it creates all these other ancillary jobs because of the materials and the other stuff that they get, to do this. And so it's true because it really is creating all these other jobs, but they're not.
But you said construction, and this is dry cleaning and, a bakery and, property management. That's not the same. You're a liar.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, seriously? Just say he was true. What he said was true. It's going to create jobs,
Yes.
You may not like that it's creating jobs. You may not want to give him credit for that, but it's creating the jobs. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff that's driving me insane about the media, that their biases have just slipped into the news so seamlessly,
So when it comes to faith in newspapers, 15% of conservatives and 34% of liberals don't trust those. Compare that to television news, which boasts no ideological confidence gap. Everyone seems to hate it equally. So when the faith in newspapers is 15% of conservatives have faith in newspapers and 34% of liberals have faith in newspapers, that's pretty pathetic.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So clean up your own house, Fourth Estate. Clean up your own house. Why don't you be? I love the statement that was put out by Reuters when people asked Reuters, how are you going to cover this White House? And their answer was, we're going to be journalists, just like we always have been.
Yeah.
That is the only right answer.
Yes.
Where the Guardian came out and said they're going to take him down.
Right.
That's not your job.
The newspapers I trust the most these days are the hyper local ones, right?
Yeah.
The ones that aren't worried about all this other stuff, that are going to the opening of the new business and telling you about all the people that are working there and all the stuff that's going on. The one that's at the the local rally because something's happened in this community and they want to find out what these people think and feel about it. That's the stuff that I'm reading and trusting. The stuff that they're reporting on the national, it's like a gossip chain sometimes.
It sometimes is. A guy. There've even been stories about a pastor had written on his Facebook page that he went to a Trump rally and he thought that it felt like a religious service and it made him very, very uncomfortable. The Washington Post picked it up. They wrote a story on this pastor's Facebook post. It's like, really? That's a good idea? I don't know.
That's a story.
It was a Facebook post.
My goodness.
All right, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. We'll be right back.
In Farm and Ranch headlines, a new poll by the Wall Street Journal shows an increase in support for free trade in the United States. The growing support comes despite anti-trade sentiments by President Donald Trump and removal of the U.S. from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, along with the intent to renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement. The poll last week found that 43% of Americans surveyed thought positively of free trade between the U.S. and foreign countries. The results represent a sharp reversal from a similar poll in March of last year. That poll found just 27% of Americans favored free trade, and 43% said free trade harmed the nation. Meanwhile, a group of 29 agricultural and food organizations last week urged the Donald Trump administration to fill a key trade position within the United States Department of Agriculture. The groups penned a letter to the president urging him to fill the position quickly. The organizations asked that an undersecretary for Trade and Foreign Agricultural Affairs be appointed.
And now another episode of One Soil to Live.
I'm sorry, Sarah. It doesn't look good.
Oh, no, Doctor. Is there any hope?
Well, yes. But you'll need to follow these 4 principles if you want to make it healthy again.
Of course. Anything.
Okay. Now, first, you must keep it covered and keep living roots in it throughout the year with diverse plants and rotations.
Yes, Doctor. Of course.
And finally, Sarah, it's important to disturb it as little as possible.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. You're a real soil saver.
No thanks necessary. Improving soil health is what I live to do.
There's an amazing amount of life in healthy soil. More importantly, that life can help make our nation's farms more productive, profitable, and resilient. Visit your local USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service office today and learn more about the basics and benefits of soil health. This message brought to you by USDA and this radio station.
I'm Sabrina Hill for AgNetWest.com.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by ADT, protecting what matters most for over 140 years. This is Charles Osgood. People trying to save money may sometimes stop using their credit cards to keep from racking up debt. But going cold turkey on a credit card may actually be damaging to your credit score, as we'll hear after this. Our CBS News colleague Brooke Silva Braga has an example of how not using a credit card can actually hurt your credit rating.
Jen Murphy is expecting her 3rd child in April. She spent months paying off the balance on her Wells Fargo Visa card.
And then our intentions were to save it, keep it like as an emergency card to help with some of the costs for when the baby comes.
So then you got this surprise.
I got a letter that they had closed out my account for inactivity on my account because I kept it at 0 balance and didn't use it.
They actually like it better when you do owe them money.
Wells Fargo said that 6 months of card inactivity was a leading factor in their decision to cancel her card, along with balances on Murphy's other loans. Banks canceling inactive cards is common. In experience, Ron Griffin says losing that spending power can hurt your credit score.
When you close an account, you lose the available credit for that account, and so you have less available credit in total.
Murphy's credit score did see a small drop after she received the letter. Most banks don't specify what length of inactivity will prompt a closure. Griffin says inactive accounts cost banks money to maintain, so if you want to keep a card, use it.
So make a small purchase, turn around and pay it in full each month.
Wells Fargo says 1 purchase a year should be enough to keep an account open, and customers are generally given advance warning of a cancellation. But in cases like Murphy's, where additional reasons for the closure were given, it could come without notice.
This was like our safety net card, and now we don't have it.
She's now looking for a new card.
The Osgood File. I'm Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
From the KCAA Community Calendar, I'm Mark Westwood. Everyone's talking about the Third Thursdays in San Bernardino. Rediscover the city of San Bernardino Third Thursday Food Truck Fest. Switch up your lunchtime routine. Try the gourmet food trucks every third Thursday from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Court Street parking lot between E and D Streets in downtown San Bernardino. Enjoy delicious, tasty food from the food trucks such as the Slam and Sliders food truck, Farmer's Belly, the Bacon Mania truck, Piaggio on wheels, or the Greasy Wiener. All kinds of mouth-watering delights, hot off the truck, and plenty to eat. Put an end to dull, boring fast food and truck on over to City Hall in San Bernardino for the Third Thursday Food Truck Fest in downtown San Bernardino. For more info, check out Rediscover San Bernardino's Facebook page at facebook.com/SB Third Thursdays. That's SBTHIRD Thursdays. That's a look at the KCAA Community Calendar. I'm Mark Westwood.
The Colton cement plant is closed and the rail yard is expanding. Find out what's happening next in the Colton City News. Get more local news, local features, and a great calendar section full of local events for your family. The Colton City News, in print and online at coltoncitynews.com.
This is KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So the San Bernardino County Sheriff has come out with a plan for immigration.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of people have concerns about what's happening with local law enforcement and how they deal with immigration under the Trump administration. And so San Bernardino County Sheriff and Coroner John McMahon has written an op-ed that explains sort of how they deal with this, and I thought it was worth reading and letting people know. He says, to have a safe community, we need to have great working relationships with our local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, as demonstrated on December 2nd, 2015. I would like to be clear on what my department's legal obligations are on immigration enforcement. There are misconceptions and confusions on this topic. I understand the complex issue of immigration enforcement in our community and the impact it has on families, victims, and witnesses of crimes. I do not want the fear of someone's immigration status to prevent them from reporting crimes or interacting with our deputies. I can assure you patrol deputies do not participate in immigration enforcement. Our department's primary responsibility is for the safety of all individuals. However, I also believe any person who commits a crime should be held accountable and face the legal consequences of the judicial system. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department has more than 3,000 dedicated men and women who provide public safety for more than 2 million residents. We provide patrol services for 14 contract cities, including unincorporated areas, and operate 4 county jails. Our county jails book an average of 80,000 people annually. We have an average daily population of 5,500 inmates who have been arrested and awaiting trial or have been sentenced by the court for committing various violent crimes. Historically, immigration enforcement has been the responsibility of federal law enforcement agencies. In 2005, the Department of Homeland Security asked local law enforcement to participate with immigration enforcement and support the 287G program. The department implemented the program in our county jails, which allowed our custody employees to interview and place detainers on inmates who were arrested for various crimes in the county. In 2013, the state of California passed the Trust Act, which prohibited law enforcement from honoring immigration detainers unless inmates were arrested for serious crimes specified in the legislation. Our department continued to participate in the federal 287G program within the California law. In 2014, the department suspended the 287G program based on a federal court ruling on an immigration case out of Clackamas County, Oregon. The federal court decision determined immigration detainers were unlawful because they lacked probable cause and did not have a judge's signature. It is extremely important to note the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department does not hold any inmate past his or her scheduled release date without a legal warrant signed by a federal judge. This is a crucial point because there have been and will be in the future instances when federal authorities request a detainer or a hold or on an inmate to investigate their immigration status. My department has an obligation to follow the law, and I cannot legally hold inmates past their release date without a warrant signed by a federal judge. The Department of Homeland Security recently released a memorandum requesting local and state law enforcement agencies to once again participate in the 287G program. Recently, I attended a meeting with the National Sheriff's Association in Washington, D.C. I spoke with our federal law enforcement partners about our legal authority and issues affecting immigration enforcement. If the United States Attorney General changes their practice and provides legal authority, the department will reevaluate the 287G program. Our department prides itself on serving you by providing the highest level of law enforcement services to all of our communities. We have worked very hard to earn and maintain your trust. It is the foundation of our organization. I will continue to ensure deputies from San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department enforce local and state laws to ensure the safety of everyone. So essentially what they're saying is that they will not detain people for immigration status unless they have a signed warrant from a judge. And I think that's the right standard.
I would agree. I think that they have to follow the law.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't really matter what they want to do. It doesn't really matter what they think they should be doing. They have to follow the law. And it sounds like that's exactly what Sheriff McMahon is having his deputies do.
Yeah. Now, 287G, I'm pretty sure, is the Secure Communities Act, which, essentially got local law enforcement to do these kinds of holds so that the ICE agents could come and round people up. And I still believe, and he doesn't address it in this article, that there is still ongoing communication between the departments as to, people that ICE is looking for. So it would be like if any other law enforcement agency put out a, be on the lookout for, this particular person, this criminal, and they're looking for those people, and they'll let them know if they've got them.
Right.
But beyond that, they're not going to hold them. They're not going to turn them over unless there's a signed warrant from a judge saying this person needs to be given for deportation.
So with that, we've reached the end of our show for today. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
Have a great day, everybody. We're on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3.